Hello, friends. Welcome to LTO Live. We're going to talk today about how I was happier when I was delusional. Let's start with making sure that my sound is okay. I am checking out sound. Hopefully you can hear my voice. I have a lot of construction noise outside, so I'm hoping that this mic cuts a lot of it out. I'm in an Airbnb. I'm in Playa del Carmen. I'm loving life. And I started the morning crying this morning. So I think this is going to be a really good day. Thank you so much for hanging tight. I know I usually go live on Tuesdays instead of Thursdays, but as you can hear, I have a recovering party girl cough from celebrating my sister and cousin's birthday last week, and had so much fun and was talking way too loud, and I lost my voice. So thank you for hanging tight with me and being flexible. So let's hold on for a moment and of course skip through all this. Okay, so today we are going to be talking about I was happier when I was delusional. I was happier when I was naive, as I used to say I was in college. So when I went to college in San Diego, I knew no one, and it's when I discovered Pinterest. I discovered Pinterest and drowned myself in Pinterest quotes. There are some negative side effects of that, but on the positive side, I was so committed to feeling good that I was just blind to everything else. When girls were being mean to me, I was just naive of it. And so many people criticized me for that, but I realized that that's when I was my happiest, that I just didn't see these things that were not working out for me. I focused my attention on things that were working out for me. My perspective was so focused on what I wanted to see, that's what I saw. And that's when I was quote unquote delusional or naive, which was what people were criticizing me on. But I realize now that it was a superpower. And that's what I want to talk about today as far as it goes with relationships. I'm Erin Kaley. If you're new here, welcome. Make sure you subscribe. We go live every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Central Time or 12 p.m. Eastern Time, New York time zone. So come join us. We are talking about a few things in this live. Every live we talk about relinquishing shame, ridding shame from our systems, ridding self-doubt from our systems, expelling these things that are holding you back, building magnetic confidence so that you can dare to build a life and relationship, so you can dare to design a relationship and life that is unique to you and not some template that someone is trying to put on you, okay? So that's what the LTO Live is about. Live turned on, feeling into ourselves, locking in on our turn on, and seeing how that affects the rest of your life. So if you're interested, let's go. Okay, so I talked about a little bit of my college, of how I was criticized for being naive and delusional. You're delusional, Erin. You just don't see that people are mean to you. You don't see that there's all this badness in the world, First of all, let's understand, again, how our brain works, because the more that we understand about our brain, the more we can just lock into this superpower that we have, okay? There are billions of bits of information that your brain is receiving at any given moment. It can't focus on everything. So you get to choose the focus, right? So you get to choose your filter. So you know how things happen. So let's talk about it in the context of relationships. So you and your partner have the same experience. You're in the same room, the same thing happens. It's just two people looking at the same thing. Yet, and this happens all the time, your partner has a perspective on what happened and you have a perspective on what happened. And this is where there's differences. And then we play this game, this lose-lose game of who's right and who's wrong. When in actuality, it's just that there's two perspectives on the same thing. And there's even more than two perspectives on the same thing, right? There's even more than two perspectives on what happened in that situation. And yet we're trying to play this lose-lose game of who's right and who's wrong. So what I want to challenge us to do is take on a new perspective. This morning, I came out in this outfit, and my Scorpio husband told me that I looked like I was straight from a country club, that he just saw me driving up to a country club in my Wrangler and jumping out in my little like cutie sports gear. You know, I'm not the sports girl that walks out of her Wrangler, but because of this hat and this outfit I put on today, this is who I'm embodying. This is like the perspective I'm looking at today. And this is what I want to challenge you to do. You can shift your perspective. Maybe it's a pair of sunglasses, right? Maybe it's taking on a new lens and literally physically putting on a pair of glasses. If you follow me on Instagram, you see that I've been wearing these orange glasses because I was trying to look for something that was more of like a somatic, tangible way for me to shift my perspective. And super interesting. Very, very interesting. Maybe we call it the orange glasses effect, but we'll go into that a little maybe. Maybe we'll talk more about that next week. But today I want to talk about this idea that there are multiple perspectives on the one thing that happens. So if you have something that you are arguing with your partner about, I want you to challenge yourself. I want you to remind yourself that, okay, I have one perspective, they have one perspective, and then there are lots of other perspectives. So why don't, instead of arguing with each other and playing a lose-lose game, why don't we play detective? Why don't we put on our little Sherlock Holmes persona, like I did my little country girl persona today? Why don't we put on this persona of a detective and like seek out all the things that are happening? Why don't we do that together? And then all of a sudden, you two are on the same team. You have a united front. You are playing detective. You're on the same team. And all of a sudden, you're more able to understand each other's perspectives. And you're also seeking out other perspectives on what happened. Let's talk about when we have problems in our relationships. It's so funny, and this is in all areas of our life, but when we have problems in our relationship, we try to just work through the problem and focus on the problem. But who ever solved the problem inside the problem? I mean, come on, let's be honest with ourselves. Have you ever solved a problem by just focusing so hard on the problem? No, that just doesn't happen. We usually solve problems when we're not even thinking about them. We're out walking, we're showering. A lot of my solutions come when I'm showering. I don't know if it's some somatic experience, body-based experience of the water running over me and just like getting me out of my head. But we all know that you can't solve the problem with being in the problem. So if we give space to the problem, what happens? If we give space to the problem, it releases this intense, like pushing, and allows us to see from alternate perspectives. This is one thing that I want to challenge you to do in your relationship. I don't care if you're single, if you're in a new relationship, and if you're in a long-term relationship. I want you to give space to the problems in your relationship. I want you to shift your focus, do something else. Go for a walk, shower, go do something that lights you up, that turns you on. Like for me, it's dancing. For me, it's going out and getting gelato. For me, it's coloring. What is it for you? What turns you on? What can you do to refocus your attention and release the weight and pressure that you're putting on the problem or the situation that you're having with your partner? How can you release that pressure? Is to just set it aside, put it on a shelf. You're going to revisit it. This is not about just like shoving it away and never seeing it again and just being like, oh no, we don't have any problems. No, we're just going to be processing this from a more clean energy, because you are not going to be solving problems from pressure. Okay. So let's go back to this idea of like being delusional, because you're like, everything is working out for me. Everything is great. Everybody loves me. Da 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 da. Like from this perspective, you're so much kinder for solving problems. When you think your partner is like out to get you and they're just trying to make you mad, do you think that you're going to be like a really useful component in solving these problems? Probably not. I mean, probably not, right? But if you are if you believe that your partner and you are on the same team, if you approached the problem by being like, let's play detective for a second, let's sift and sort all the perspectives, like this could have been what happened, or this could have been what happened, or this could, and all of a sudden it becomes a game, which is why I love talking about everything in terms of games, because what are games? They're fun. We can have fun. We're allowed to have fun. We forget how to have fun as adults. So just lose your mind a little bit, play a game, be delusional, be weird, and play detective with your partner instead of arguing and getting yourself stuck in the lose-lose. Okay? What else do we want to talk about? We talked about space. We talked about giving space to problems. We talked about playing detective with our problems. We talked about just kind of losing your mind a little bit and letting yourself just choose to feel good, to choose to, what you're really doing is you're recalibrating yourself. By giving space, you're releasing pressure, you're getting into a better mood, you are shifting yourself into another environment where you're feeling better, and then you come back to the problem or situation. Then you come back to the problem or situation so that you can solve it in a way that's actually solvable. How many times have you had an argument with a partner in the past, maybe recently, where you're just so mad at each other that you just are like, well, whatever, and we agree to disagree, and then we just walk away? But when we do that, do you think that that actually solves the problem, or is that just sweeping it under the rug so you have this grudge that's just growing and growing over time? I want you to be able to leave your arguments. I want you to leave your disagreements with each other with a sense of peace, with a sense of like, okay, we're back on the same team. And this, oftentimes, to do this, you need space. And I'll tell you, I really struggled with this at the beginning of my relationship, because I grew up in a family where, you don't give space to arguments. When you're mad, you just follow each other around the house and you just keep going and going and going. And then this argument, this one tiny little disagreement, turned into like a 3-hour endeavor of just like chasing each other around the house, maybe giving some space of like a minute, and then you come back in and restart the argument. That's how I thought things worked. And then my now husband well, we've been together now for 9 years, but at the very beginning of our relationship, I tried to do that, and he was like, no, we're not playing this game. And I started realizing that this was not an effective way of communicating. So I learned the value of giving space. I learned the value of adopting new perspectives, playing a game. And I'm not perfect at this. I don't think that we're ever all expected to be perfect at this, but I want you to remember this next time you have an argument. I want you to remember, take a deep breath. It resets your nervous system, maybe 5 deep breaths, and then give some space. Play detective, give some space. In that space, go do something that turns you on. What are the things that turn you on? I want you to ask yourself that right now. What are the things that turn me on? How can I reset myself? How can I lift my vibration? How can I make myself feel better so that I can solve this from a higher perspective instead of like this lower, angry, like, I gotta win perspective? So that is our LTO Live today. I hope that that got your mind running. I hope that that stimulated you in a bit. I hope that this turned you on. I hope that this conversation turned you on. I want to have these conversations. I want you to learn something from each of the lives we have here, each of the conversations we have here on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you love to consume content. I want you to leave this conversation feeling valued. You are not a bad person if you freak out. You're not a bad person if you don't want to give space to an argument. There's no shame in this space. We have no room for shame in this space. I have also messed up in the past, okay? I still mess up. But the thing is that I bounce back. I remember. I'm reprogramming my mind through EFT tapping and other somatic therapy practices. If you're curious, there's videos on my YouTube, or just DM me and ask a question. But I am actively working on this, and I would love for you to also think about this too. So I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure the bell is ticked so you get a notification of when I'm going live next week. And I will see you next time on LTO Live. This is Erin Kaley, and I hope to see you next week.